our dogs, that is, love people food. Sometimes it's hard to resist those big eyes and that cute doggy grin, but there are some foods that are toxic and dangerous. So joining us this morning is veterinarian Barbara Royal, and we always love it when you come by because you give us good advice and you know, about being careful about what decisions you make for our pets. So thanks for coming in bright and early this morning. Okay, so what spurred this one is I saw a report, I think last week, saying that even one grape could result in kidney failure in your pet?
Yeah, it's one of those things that I still can't quite believe, and we don't really know what causes it, but it definitely happens. So, and it seems like it could even be just one grape, even in a large dog. So people say, oh, it doesn't really matter. It's different dogs will react to it at different times, and we're not really sure what the chemical is in there that does that, but it causes pretty bad, immediate kidney failure. I mean, they'll start vomiting, they get really sick, and then suddenly their kidneys are not working. So hospitalization and care is really important as soon as you know that's happened.
Okay, so if you were to say the top 3 foods just to stay away from when it comes to your pets, what would that be?
Raisins and grapes, for sure.
Okay.
You really don't want to do any kind of onions or anything like that. A little bit of onions in something is not always so
like
horrible, but again, yeah, you just don't want any kind of raw onions. I really try to avoid the carbohydrates as well. Just in general, I think they cause inflammation and other problems as well.
Yeah, because grains, I'm told, are not good for our pets.
Even just grains and carbohydrates. I mean, carbohydrates are sort of the larger group, and grains are a subset of that. So that's like, you know, wheat and corn. But even things like, you know, potatoes, or we do a lot of different types of carbs in foods now that are like chickpeas or things like that.
Oh,
not always so healthy, because they get their protein and their health really from mostly meat and some fats, things like that.
Good to know. So what have you brought this morning?
I just brought this because I feel like people should know what raw food looks like. In general, I recommend people get as much fresh food as possible into their pets. So I don't mind if you do a little bit of your own food at home, as long as you're not eating Twinkies all day and feeding them to the dog. So what you exactly. So, or some of those delicious cakes you had earlier.
And the pies stay away, right? Okay.
But this is really more what a dog really should be eating. So if you're looking in here, this is a a patty of raw food. Turn it that way. Sorry, I'm not good at this thing. Okay, so a patty of raw food, and in there basically is all the vitamins and minerals, and there's vegetables mixed in, things like that that are going to make it really healthy for an animal. When they eat this, they love it. This is a frozen patty here. Some other frozen patties, different brands, Darwin's and Raw Bistro. You can get freeze-dried foods, things like that. But I try to stay away from the really processed foods, sort of like for us, the kibbles and things like that. Stay away from those. They don't bring health.
Really? Okay, but now the thing I've noticed is there are a lot of gourmet dog restaurants now. Not restaurants, I should say, but places where you can go buy dog food, right? Pet shops and stuff. So what is the key thing we should look for when reading our ingredients for our pets to stay away from?
Yeah, you're looking at the ingredients on these things, and what you're really looking for is ingredients that show something delicious in there that you can recognize as food. So when I look at this list of ingredients and it says things like, chicken thigh meat, and you can read all the different types of vegetables in there, flaxseed oil, zucchini, that all makes sense to me. My grandmother would understand this as food.
So basically understand it.
Understand it, and if you find the first few ingredients are things like corn and wheat and carbs and soybean and things like that, avoid that.
Okay, quickly, and this is, I said we could talk about this in a whole separate segment, but vaccines, okay? So flu season's coming up. Remember there's the big issue with the flu vaccine. Should you get your dog a flu vaccine?
The flu vaccine is a bit of an issue for me as a holistic practitioner, because I feel like a lot of people will get it right before they go into boarding. Oh, I've got to get that flu vaccine. So they give the vaccine and then the dog goes in for boarding. And the biggest problem with that is it depresses the immune system for about 10 days after you give an immune shot. So you have to be a little bit more careful, because they're more likely to get sick at that time.
Does it work?
Some of them absolutely work if they're the right strain. So part of it is knowing if you're really getting the right strain for that season. So it's good to know that information as well.
And then any other what about all the other vaccines we're told to give our dogs?
The one that's required by law is the rabies, and you have to do that about every 3 years.
And you say do that.
And you have to do it by law, so yes, absolutely. And try to do the one that lasts the longest. So it's not a stronger shot, just the 3-year rabies is a good vaccine. Go ahead and use that one, because it just means they proved the 1 year lasts 3 years. So that's why that's a good vaccine.
Is there any vaccine you absolutely think is a bad idea for our pets?
I really don't recommend doing the vaccine for Lyme disease or for leptospirosis. I find that those cause more problems than they help. I try to avoid those. I know leptospirosis is a really bad disease, and it's life-threatening and dangerous, but we don't have a great vaccine for it yet, in my opinion. I see too many seizures and reactions additions to it.
Okay, we covered a lot in a short amount. Tell us about this before we leave here.
There's just a new pet food documentary out called Pet Fooled. I recommend people see it. It helps just expose what's going on in the pet food industry. I wrote this little guy here to give you an idea of what to do for pet food when you're in the pet store. What do you need to look at? This is the quick guide for it. And then my book gives you more information about vaccines and things like that.
Love your book too. This is called The Essential Pocket Guide to Pet Food. People can go to your website. Tell us what that is.
Absolutely. www.royaltreatmentvetcenter.com.
Okay.